Have you ever been lying awake at night, and suddenly, a strange thought hits you? One day, this will all end. Not in a dramatic way, not in a movie way, just silence. Your body is safe. Your room is quiet. But your mind feels like it's standing at the edge of something it cannot see. This isn't weakness. This is the human mind confronting its deepest fear. Today, we're not talking about death itself. We're talking about why the mind is afraid of it. Fear of death is one of the most universal human experiences, yet one of the least openly discussed. Almost everyone feels it at some point, but very few people know how to explain it, even to themselves. It hides behind busy schedules, late-night scrolling, sudden anxiety, unexplained sadness, or an obsessive need to stay distracted. Psychology doesn't see fear of death as weakness. It sees it as a natural response to awareness, the moment the human mind realizes that life has an end. Unlike animals, humans don't just experience life, they reflect on it. We remember the past, imagine the future, and most importantly, we understand that one day, all of this will stop. This awareness is not something the brain evolved to handle easily. The human nervous system was designed for survival in the present moment, not for contemplating non-existence. So when the mind turns toward death, it often reacts with fear, confusion, or avoidance. Psychologically, fear of death is rarely about death itself. It's about loss of control, loss of meaning, and unfinished identity. People are not always afraid of being dead. They are afraid of not existing anymore, of being forgotten, of losing consciousness, of missing out, of leaving things unresolved. The mind struggles with the idea of nothingness because it has no reference point for it. The brain cannot imagine absence. It can only imagine presence ending. One of the strongest theories in psychology related to this fear is terror management theory. It suggests that much of human behavior is driven by the unconscious fear of death. According to this theory, people build identities, belief systems, careers, religions, legacies, and even social status as a way to feel symbolic immortality, a feeling that something of them will survive after they're gone. When these systems are shaken, fear of death rises. This is why people often feel more anxious about death during periods of instability, when they lose a job, a relationship, faith, health, or direction. It's not just the loss itself, it's the loss of the structure that once protected them from existential fear. When life feels meaningful, death feels distant. When meaning collapses, death suddenly feels close. Many people experience fear of death more intensely at night. Psychologically, nighttime removes distractions. The world slows down, silence increases, and the mind turns inward. Without noise, the brain starts asking questions it avoided all day. What am I doing with my life? What if this ends suddenly? What if there's nothing after? These thoughts can trigger panic attacks, especially in people who are already emotionally sensitive or introspective. Fear of death also changes across age, but not in the way people expect. Children don't usually fear death deeply because they don't fully understand permanence. Young adults often fear death abstractly, as an interruption of plans. Middle-aged adults fear death through responsibility, leaving children, unfinished duties. Older adults often fear death less, but fear dying badly or losing dignity. Psychology shows that fear doesn't disappear, it simply transforms. Another important psychological factor is attachment. People who formed insecure attachments early in life often fear death more intensely.
Why?
Because death represents ultimate separation. If someone grew up with abandonment, emotional neglect, or instability, the idea of permanent separation can trigger deep, unconscious fear. Death becomes emotionally linked to loneliness rather than rest. There's also a strong connection between fear of death and anxiety disorders. People with generalized anxiety, panic disorder, or obsessive thinking often fixate on death because the brain is already trained to search for threats. For them, death becomes the ultimate unknown danger. The mind asks endless what-if questions, trying to gain certainty over something that is inherently uncertain. Interestingly, people who fear death the most are often those who think the most. Deep thinkers, sensitive individuals, artists, philosophers, they are more prone to existential anxiety. Not because they are weak, but because they are aware. Awareness is a double-edged sword. It gives depth to life, but also exposes its fragility. Psychology also shows that fear of death is closely tied to regret. People who feel they haven't lived authentically often fear death more than those who feel aligned with their values. It's not death they fear, it's dying without having truly lived. This is why near-death experiences sometimes reduce fear of death. They force people to confront what actually matters. Avoidance is one of the most common coping mechanisms. People avoid talking about death, avoid funerals, avoid silence, avoid thinking. But avoidance doesn't remove fear, it strengthens it. Suppressed fear tends to leak out as anxiety, irritability, or numbness. Psychology teaches that what we resist emotionally often persists. Another hidden layer is control. Modern humans are used to controlling everything: schedules, information, environments. Death represents the one thing that cannot be controlled, predicted, or negotiated. For control-oriented minds, this lack of power is deeply unsettling. The fear is not of death, it's of surrender. Healing fear of death doesn't mean eliminating it. Psychology doesn't aim to erase fear, it aims to help us relate to it differently. Acceptance doesn't mean liking death, it means acknowledging its place without letting it dominate life. Research shows that people who reflect on mortality in a healthy way often live more meaningful, compassionate, and present lives. One powerful psychological shift is moving from fear of death to relationship with life. When life feels full, connected, and purposeful, death loses its grip. Not because it disappears, but because it no longer feels like a thief. It feels like a boundary that gives life urgency. Ultimately, fear of death is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a sign that you are human, aware, and alive. The goal is not to conquer death mentally, but to stop letting the fear of it steal the life you still have. Because the greatest tragedy psychology observes is not dying, it's never truly living because you were too afraid of the end. One day, life will end. That part is unavoidable. But psychology shows us something even more tragic. Many people don't fear death. They fear realizing too late that they never truly lived. Fear of death isn't telling you to panic. It's asking you to be present, to speak honestly, to stop postponing meaning. Because death doesn't steal life. Fear does. And the moment you stop running from the end is the moment life begins to feel real.